Once an organization has this scenario-based plan in place, how does it integrate it into other plans that the organization has?
Yeah, so prior to doing scenario planning, you often have accreditation, you have academic planning, you have strategic planning that goes on, and scenario planning sits as, to me, a complement to all of that, right? Because it's a sounding board. Every time you're making a strategic decision or asking a strategic question, you should go back to the scenarios and say, how does this play out, right? So if you're asking a question, for instance, about what skills should the organization be teaching people in the next 5 years, go back to the scenarios and ask questions about what kinds of future jobs might there be in these various scenarios. Can help inform that, right? And so there's a way of using them as a sounding board and a feedback mechanism. But I think most importantly, it's about adaptation and agility. A lot of organizations talk about we want people to be agile thinkers, but they give them linear planning processes, right? So they go back to task-based, outcome-based planning. Scenario planning, because it gives you the permission to explore different futures, gives people both the awareness that they don't know everything, and therefore there's a lot of stuff that they have to pay attention to, which forces them on one hand to be agile, and on the other hand, because it gives them different futures that have very, very different outcomes and very different flavors and essences over those futures, it forces them to be somewhat adaptive, because they have to then say, if I take it at a very personal level and I'm the admissions person at a university and I'm now looking at a future where it's got a very different admissions process, or a very open one that's very global and just in time and minute to minute, do I see myself in a role that can accommodate that kind of future? How would I have to adapt to that, right? And so it really brings both the institutional planning into a different set of frameworks for adaptation and agility, but it also makes it very personal for people so that they can actually see, how do they think about their future careers going forward? How do they think about their role? And it may even be that there are new departments and new functions and other pieces of the organization that have to change. And it gives you a framework for having that discussion. I think one of the coolest things is when an organization really, really embeds it, it starts becoming shorthand, and they start using the names of the scenarios, and somebody will bring up an idea and they go, well, that would never fly in Proud Tower or Corporate Lifeline or Freelance Planet, and everybody knows, because they've been very steeped in understanding the logics of the futures. As soon as somebody says that name, they go, you're right, we need to make that idea better because it wouldn't work in that future. And so that's when you really know that you've gotten there, is when people are using the scenario names as shorthands for really big concepts about the future that are helping them be more agile and more adaptive in their day-to-day work.